Hello, my name is Caitlin Kaiser and I've been teaching with Outschool since about August of 2019. I love teaching for Outschool. It's one of my real passions in life, and I love making videos and helping other teachers as well. But today I wanted to kind of step back, tell you a little bit about my background, about what I did before Outschool, about my first adventures in online teaching, and of course, how I ended up on the Outschool platform. Let's get started. My background is in music, so I have a Bachelor of Music degree, a Master of Music degree, and I am this close to having a Doctorate of Music degree as well. Throughout all of those degree programs, I've had so many different ideas about what job I would eventually end up in. So all of my degrees are in flute performance. I'm a flutist, and during my bachelor's program, I kind of thought I would end up as a performer, either a classical musician, or my ultimate dream has always been to be a studio musician, to be a musician who works in film. So that was really my goal during my bachelor's degree program. By the time I got to my master's, I kind of continued to have that goal to be a performer, but I started specializing in something called new music or modern music, and from there I decided I really wanted to be somebody who was able to bring light to some of these new compositions and to perform these pieces. So that was kind of my goal in my master's. Now, by the time I got to my doctorate, things had started to kind of shift a little bit for me. I had suffered a pretty severe shoulder injury, and I knew that performing professionally probably just wasn't in the cards. You know, it's a lot of work to be a professional musician. It requires hours and hours of practice each day and hours of performing each week. And I knew, just kind of looking at myself and looking at how my recovery was going, that just wasn't going to be something that I could do. So at that point, I shifted my focus and I decided that I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to be a college teacher, either teaching flute or maybe teaching some other kind of supplementary classes, things like music history or music appreciation as well. So that was my goal during all of my doctorate degree. I started my doctoral program in August of 2016, I believe. I came through straight from my bachelor's all the way to my doctorate. I never took any time off. And that was my goal when I went into my doctorate. So fast forwarding a little bit from the beginning of my doctoral program in August of 2016, and we are now in January of 2019, and I am planning a big move. So I ended up moving about an hour and a half south from where I was living. I was up above Winchester, Virginia. I moved down to Harrisonburg, Virginia to move in with my partner. And when I did that, I decided to leave the job that I had in Winchester. So Winchester is about an hour from Harrisonburg. Theoretically, I could have commuted, but I was in a job that I did not enjoy. I actually was a commercial driver working for the city of Winchester, driving transit buses, so public transit buses. And while that was definitely a job that I was fully capable of and a job that I was more than qualified to do, it didn't make me happy. I didn't enjoy it. The hours were horrific. I usually would start somewhere between 5 and 5:30 in the morning. So coupling in now an hour commute versus a 30-minute commute. And I was looking at having to leave the house by between 4 and 4:30 in the morning. Additionally, after I suffered that shoulder injury, it was really, really hard for me to work in that job physically. You know, it was a lot of kind of heavy lifting and a lot of having to load wheelchairs on and off of buses. I just didn't like it. I wasn't happy in that job. So when I ended up moving, when we discussed moving down to Harrisonburg, I decided that I would get a new job upon that move. So I quit my job with the transit company, moved to Harrisonburg, did not have a job lined up at all. I had a few options. I'd put out tons and tons of resumes and applications, but I didn't have anything concrete yet. So then I moved on in, I got everything all situated here in our townhouse, and then I heard of a company called VIP Kid. So VIP Kid is an online ESL company. It's one of the biggest online ESL companies in the world, and we mostly work with students who are in China, so teaching them English and teaching them grammar and pronunciation, those types of concepts. So when I was invited to interview with VIP Kid, I was so pumped. You know, I loved teaching. I always loved teaching. I've been teaching homeschoolers largely and also private flute lessons for about 10 years at this point. So I knew that this was a job I'd be really, really great at. So I applied, I interviewed, and I was offered the position. So I started teaching with VIP Kid in February of 2019, and this job was fine. It went fine. I really, really enjoyed working with the students. The one thing that I didn't love is I didn't get to create my own lesson plans, and I was also teaching things that just were a little bit boring to teach at 5 in the morning. That's another thing about VIP Kid. The hours are absurd. You have to get up super, super early to teach with them because all of the students are in China. There's a 12 to 13 hour time difference there. So we had to get up pretty early to teach. But it was a job, it was making money, and it was helping me pay my bills. So I was pretty content in that job. Now, in June of 2019, things kind of started to fall apart. I got sick. I got really, really, really sick, and we didn't know what was going on with me. We didn't know what was wrong. I was in and out of the emergency room a bunch of different times, and I just wasn't doing well. I wasn't doing well physically. So at that point, VIP Kid had to kind of take a little bit of a back burner. Your health is the most important thing, and if you're not healthy, you can't do anything else. So VIP Kid kind of fell back for a little while, for about a month or so. Now, with VIP Kid, when you are having a health crisis like that, you can cancel your classes and you can be granted what they call soft cancellation. So soft cancellations are basically like approved cancellations. Think of it like a traditional job where you apply, for your job, for your cancellation or for your day off or whatever, and you're granted like sick leave, sick time. It was essentially like that with VIP Kid. Of course, VIP Kid, you didn't make any income during that time, so that was no fun for me. And another caveat with VIP Kid is that these soft cancellations still affect your completed class percentage. So my completed class percentage for June and July 2019 was tiny. It was bad. It was like 10% or something of my classes had been completed as scheduled. So even though I was truly very, very sick, my bookings took a huge nosedive with VIP Kid when I was ready to return to work at the end of July of 2019. Because of all of that, because of dealing with these lower bookings, and also just because I had gone through this massive kind of health thing and came out on the other side and I really wanted to try something else, I started to look around for other online companies. I knew that at this point I needed to keep with the remote work. I needed to be able to work from home. I needed to be able to work a job that was fairly flexible, something that would allow for me to make it to all of my different appointments and all of my different treatments, all of that great stuff. So I knew I wanted to stay kind of in the online teaching field. Now I looked at a bunch of other ESL companies and I ended up applying to two different ones, so Magic Years and iTutor Group, and I was hired on with iTutor Group. I actually went through the entire orientation process, got my background, got my red polo, the whole 9 yards, and kind of chickened out, got cold feet, decided I didn't actually want to teach with them after all. It just never felt right to be with them. So this entire time I was continuing to work with VIP Kid. My bookings were starting to kind of pick back up, but I still wasn't happy. I knew that I wanted to do something else. So in August of 2019, or I suppose the end of July really of 2019, I found the company Outschool. And I knew the second that I read what Outschool was doing and I looked at some of these other teacher profiles and looked at these other class offerings, I knew that's the company I wanted to work with. I knew that I wanted to be on this platform as a teacher. So I applied, I put together, at that time we had to give a class listing like during your application process. I put all of that stuff together and I was accepted to be a teacher. After I was accepted to be a teacher, it took me a few weeks to actually start teaching. I'm one of those people that needs to have everything just right. Everything needs to be absolutely perfect. So I spent a few weeks putting my profile together, rewriting my biography a million times, redoing my picture a million times, editing my picture to make it look exactly how I wanted it, and putting together my profile video. But from there, everything has just been amazing. So I mostly teach music classes on Outschool. I do also offer one ongoing class that's on dark history, which is so fun for me. It's like one of my big passions in life. So I love being able to teach something kind of outside of my field of expertise. It's really, really fun. But I mostly teach music, and most of my classes at this point, most of my successful classes at least, are classes aimed towards little kids, which is so funny to me because I never thought I would teach little kids. On VIP Kid, I taught a lot of little ones, but I really preferred teaching like high school age children, 15, 16, 17, 18-year-olds. All of my training before I started teaching online was really in higher education. So I had always kind of dreamed and imagined that I would teach college students. So teaching 5-year-olds about composers like J.S. Bach, it's so funny that I love it so much, but I really do. And it's just something that I'm so passionate about and something that I love, something that just makes me want to get up every morning and get to work. I hope that you enjoyed learning a little bit more about me, learning a little bit more about my background and how I kind of ended up on Outschool, and I will see you again next time. Bye for now.